Hello hunters, it's Drew with the poison build with the new Buildup boost armor skill. There's a lot to go over here, so let's get right into it. In Title Update 2, we got the Risen Chameleos armor set, which has the skill Buildup boost. The way this skill works is that whenever your attacks apply status, that same attack will also receive a raw percentage damage buff. Poison has a 1 in 3 chance of applying when you strike the monster, so it's almost like a mini crit that's separate and can stack with affinity when you apply status. This damage buff also counts towards Phial bursts when you apply status. This build runs 2 points of Buildup boost. With status trigger, we apply poison on every hit, so while under this effect, we both do 15% more damage and apply poison on every hit. There is one special thing to keep in mind about poison that makes it different from Paralyze in Monster Hunter Rise. Poison, like any other status, applies to the monster when you apply enough of it. When you apply poison, it can last anywhere between 15 seconds to 35 seconds, depending on the monster's resistances. And every subsequent poison will require that you apply more poison status than the last time. However, in Rise, you can build towards your next poison while the monster is poisoned. If you do apply enough poison when the monster is poisoned, once the current poison has worn off, you just need to apply poison once and the monster will be immediately poisoned again. This leads to another helpful skill we have better access to now, which is Chameleos' Blessing. At level 3, Chameleos' Blessing will double the length of your poison. What this does is that it gives you double the time to build towards the next poison while the monster is poisoned. Lastly, we have Foray, which increases our damage if the monster is poisoned. With my current testing and playing this build, I've experienced the monster being poisoned 90% to 95% of the time, basically having full uptime of Foray, which is huge. A couple notes on the impact of Buildup boost. Without status trigger active, just having 2 points of Buildup boost converts to a 5% raw damage bonus. And of course, when status trigger is active, you get the full 15% damage bonus. Poison does 30 damage per second in Master Rank, and this really adds up to a lot when the monster is poisoned for such a huge portion of the hunt. And lastly, you may see in the gameplay here that I use the wire step switch skill. This switch skill allows us to easily trigger status trigger because it gives us a large number of iframes that count towards activating status trigger. Alright, let's take a look at the build. I think there's a lot of different poison switch X's that will work here, but for the most damage, my recommendation is a Thanatos Serpent or MOBA switch X. The reason we use this over the Chameleos is because of the amount of poison status we apply. It will ensure that we maintain poison on our target. The additional raw and having poison and foray more than makes up for the loss of purple sharpness. However, the choice mostly hinges on if you can maintain poison on the monster. If you find you can manage to maintain the same poison uptime with Chameleos, then Chameleos should be stronger. The monster will probably die very quickly in this case, and you don't need to apply poison that many times anyway. I have a build for both, so you can just pick the one that you prefer. Okay, so for the Remoba switch axe, you want to augment all attacks since we already have Phial switch boost. These builds will require attack boost talismans, ideally an attack boost 3 talisman. You don't need to have any slots on it, it just needs to be attack boost 3. Alternatively, if you have an attack boost 2 with a 2 slot, you can put an attack boost in there to make attack boost 3. So we use the gold Loonhound for status trigger, foray, and burst. Burst is chain crit, if you were wondering what happened to chain crit. We use the flaming Espinous muscle, the only relevant thing here is the attack boost and the slots. We use the Risen Chameleos gloves for Buildup boost, Chameleos Blessing, and a point of foray. I've chosen to use the golden loon coil here for 1 point in status trigger, 1 point foray, and 2 in evade window. I have found that the 4 extra seconds that we get from status trigger is more valuable than just having 1 more point of Buildup boost. This is because it gives us a much longer opportunity to take advantage of status trigger. In addition, we also get extra evade window. And then we have our Risen Chameleos legs. This gives us our Buildup boost, Chameleos Blessing, and evade window. There are a few augments that you will want to go for upgraded slots. These will be the golden loon coil and the Risen Mizuha Gators. These may be a pain because they are higher rarity equipment, but going for slots is generally a better idea and a more attainable goal. Of course, if you just augment the skill that you would slot anyway, just keep that augment. And for additional skills you might get from augments, I recommend Power Prolonger and Crit Boost. Crit Boost is especially good because with Foray, our avidity goes up to 70%. Remember that if you augment a skill that you already have from a decoration, you can just remove that decoration and replace it with the Crit Boost instead. Any additional slots you might get from your talisman or anything from additional augments, you can put in grinder decorations if they're level 1. If they're greater than that, just follow the augment priority. So the main difference with using the Chameleos switch axe is that you're going to want to get the Rampage decoration upgraded so you can use Phial switch boost. And secondly, you need to get an extra 1 slot from your augments so that you can get an extra venom decoration in. If you prefer an element Phial, I would go for the normal Rathian Switch Axe. It has high raw and poison, which should do quite well. You will apply a lot of poison with the Switch Axe and it will amp a lot easier. It will do less damage than a power Phial though. In addition, it will require a stricter talisman. An attack boost 3 with a 2 slot would work here. So, how good is this poison build when compared to element builds? For my comparison to pre-title update 2 sets, if the element hit zones are below 20 and the raw hit zones are decent, then this build seems to do more damage. There are a number of monsters with lower element hit zones as afflicted tier, like Gormagala, and this build is pretty good there. There are probably exceptions with monsters that are strong against poison, and I have not yet constructed the new meta sets, so I don't really know how much stronger element is going to be in this update. But I think it's reasonable to say that this build is very powerful and has closed some of the gap between raw status and element builds. As always, I hope you liked this video. I'll be putting out updated builds for Title Update 2. These will include Exhaust and Element. This poison one really got my attention, so I want to do this one first. Like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me out. And see you in the next one. Take care.